Thank you, Mr. President. Rising in support of this resolution in honor of Trooper Tony, who lived and worked in Kitsap County. When I was growing up, my father always said, find a job that you love, because it will never feel like work, and you'll be proud of what you do every day. After this awful tragedy last week, it's been interesting to read and watch the news as people reflected on the life and work of Trooper Tony. Because two things really came out. One, the number of people who just voice how proud he was to be a trooper. You know, quote after quote of people saying he was just so proud to be a trooper. But the other, the number of folks who reflected on how much he enjoyed his job and how he always carried himself with a smile, whether it be talking to school kids in the classrooms of Kitsap County. I read in the Kitsap Sun a reflection of a former neighbor of his who used to drive her '69 bright yellow Camaro occasionally with a bit of a lead foot back into the neighborhood. And she reflected on one time driving home from work, kind of speeding, and she said, I saw a state patrol car behind me, and he kind of smiled, and he shook his head and wagged his finger and said, don't do it again. And she said, she did it again. He shook that finger again at her. But she described him as always ready with a smile. On the 23rd of February, I was up on the third floor of the Cherberg building and ran into one of our communications staff guys. And I said, you seem down, is everything okay? And he said he was very shaken up by the passing of Trooper Tony. And he said, and this is something that I found very peculiar, because when I've been pulled over, I haven't thought of it as a particularly positive experience. But he said, I've been pulled over by Trooper Tony twice. And he said, he said, I remember him because he said, I'm from the East Coast, and Trooper Tony was from the East Coast. And he was just such a nice guy, even though he gave me a ticket. He was such a nice guy, and he had such an infectious way about him. And I think that's indicative of how much he loved his job, how much it was a point of pride in what he did. I think that is an important reminder for all of us to acknowledge the important work and the pride in their work that all of our state troopers and all of our law enforcement officers take, and the risk they take at every call. I join the prime sponsor of this and every member of this body in extending our condolences to Trooper Tony and to his family, and to acknowledge his sacrifice, both of he and his family, but of all of our troopers and their loved ones, and the importance that we support them when they're on duty and when they're off duty, and we give them all the support that they need. Thank you, Mr. President.
The question before the Senate is the adoption of Senate Resolution 8700. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. We are greatly honored today to have so many friends and family of Trooper Radulescu with us. Would you please stand and be recognized by a grateful Washington State Senate?